So welcome to today's session. In our last video, we looked at what research is about um, for students who are getting into the research space, what you are supposed to know about research and the nitty-gritties before you even pen down your topic. And so look out for that video and then watch that before you get into this particular video. So for this, we are looking at research ethics. And so before you even start your research, you need to apply for ethics, especially when you are looking at human and animals. Okay, some laboratory works, yes, you would need ethics, but from the hospital itself or from the lab itself. But for research that involves human participants, directly or indirectly, you will need ethics. You need to apply for ethics. So before you collect any data for your research, your thesis, your dissertation, or project, ethical approval is mandatory. So ethics approval ensures your research is one, scientifically sound. And so you are going to be collecting scientific data to back your study. It's supposed to be socially responsible. I mean, in terms of society, is it responsible? And then respectful of human and animal life. And so for ethics approval, this is what is going to be taken on your protocol to make sure all of these things are fully etched in your protocol. Now, for this video, we are going to cover why ethics matter. Ethics for human research and animal-based research, and then a step-by-step guidance for Ghana Health Service Ethics Review Committee, and then for KNUST's Committee on Human Research, Publication and Ethics, and then finally the Animal Research Ethics Committee, also at KNUST. So first of all, why does ethics matter exactly in research? Ethics exists to protect animals, as I mentioned earlier, and humans. It also protects the researcher. It protects the institution in question. So your permit sites of study, it protects that institution. The institution the researcher is coming from, it also protects that institution. It's also supposed to be scientifically credible. So for human research, ethics ensures that one, you have informed consent. Two, confidentiality and protection of data. And the minimization of harm to participants, to researcher, to institution, and also special protection for vulnerable populations such as children. In other populations, the aged, pregnant women, the visually impaired. For animal research, it does that in ensuring that humane treatments are applied to animals in research. Scientific justification for animal use. You have to justify why you are going to use a particular kind of animal. If it is a bird, why are you using the bird? If it is a mouse model, you are going to justify. And also it ensures that you reduce pain as much as possible on the animals. You reduce suffering, and as much as possible too, you have to reduce the death of the animal in question. We don't expect that after your study, you would have to, in quotes, kill the animal. And so it also ensures use of the minimum number of animals necessary for your study. So because animal life is also protected, animals also have rights, you have to use a minimum number for your study, just like calculating for your sample size for your human-based studies. Ethics committee also applies the 3R principle, where the first one is replacement. So is there an alternative for the kind of animal or for the kind of study you want to get into? Is there an alternative? They will also look at reduction, using the fewest animals as possible. And finally, refinement, minimize pain and distress to the animals in your study. So now let's take it one by one for ethics for human research in Ghana. In Ghana, we have a number of ethics review boards. okay, and even institutionally based review boards for approval of ethics or approval of your protocol for ethics. And I'm going to look at two of these. The first one will be the Ghana Health Services Ethics Review Committee, and then the KNUST's Ethics Board. So the structure is such that your application must be merged into one PDF. So all the documents I'm going to go through, you make sure at the end, you have all of them in PDF format and into one single file. Okay. So the first one, you are supposed to get them into 3 modules. The first module is the administrative and introductory documents. So with this module, we are looking at the principal investigator's application letter. So you'd have to apply to the ethics board, applying and asking them or requesting that you are applying for approval from them on this topic. This is the reason why you are going for this topic, and you feel or you are given a justification or a significance of your study. This is how it is going to help the country, the locality, the individual, or whichever significance you ascribe to your study. And then you add that as part of your module 1 documents. And then second point is you have to go in for all other letters. We are looking at introductory letter from the school, that is, if applicable. So if it is a student thesis or a student work, you need support letters from your supervisors. You can even go in for co-PIs. You can go for support letters from collaborators as well. And then you also go in for permission letter from the study site. So if you are going to conduct a study, let's say it's a clinical based study, you need permission from the hospital to conduct the study. So that's what we mean by permission letter. Now, this permission letter does not mean that you need an approval letter from the facility before you can apply for your ethics. So they only need evidence of your letter that you've drafted on your institutional letterhead. That's all they need. They need proof of your permission letter being ready. And then you move on to the third point, statement to comply with ethical principles. So this one is just an A4 sheet where you add your name, and then you endorse, you add your dates. It's just a simple form to fill. The next one is the administrative form. The document is there. You go through each and every one of them. It requires the name of the principal investigator, co-investigators, and then one or more questions that falls into the administrative category. And then the final one for the module 1 is the checklist. You move on to the next one, the module 2, core study documents. So this is where you go in with your scientifically backed protocol. So the first one for this module is the main research protocol. They don't have any page limit for your research, but it has to be as detailed as possible, as simple as possible, such that the scientific queries will be minimal. And then we also look at participant information sheets. So this sheet is such that you have all the details about your research, including some aspect of your protocol, and also an information which tells the participants whether there are remunerations for them, how they are benefiting from this, confidentiality issues, who they are supposed to contact if there is any issue, and then the voluntary aspect that their involvement in the study is voluntary and not mandatory. They can drop out of the study at any point in time, and it will not affect their treatment. If it is in a hospital setting, it will not affect their treatment. It's not going to affect any decision by anyone in question. And so this is the information you are going to populate onto this. And then the last one in this module is the consent forms. For Ghana Health Service ethics, they have 2 forms. We have the consent forms and then the assent forms. So the difference is this: for consent forms, it's given to 18 years and above participants. Okay, so if you are 18 years and above, this is what will be given to you. So it will just have the participant's name. They will endorse their name. They will add their name, sorry. They will append their signatures or thumbprints. and then they'll give you the consent to participate in your study. And then with the assent forms, they are for parents and guardians. Okay, parents and guardians, or people who are below 18 years. So that's when you go in for the assent forms. So you look at these two. Now, when you write to them, they can send you all these documents, and then you take your time, go through, and then you see which one falls. Then the last module, module 3, that is the supporting materials. So with this, you are looking at your study tools, your questionnaires, your interview guides, your focus group discussion guides, and etc. So if your study, for instance, human research, okay, if it involves picking ideas or asking questions to participants in the form of a questionnaire, you have to add this into it. If you need to ask questions based on video, that is interview, you would also have to apply this or add this to your module. And then if it is focus group discussions, where, for instance, you are looking out for ideas or challenges or barriers that affect patients, patient turnout in the hospitals. And so you are asking the nurses, okay, so you have a discussion focused group. So you have a discussion focused on just the nurses. You are taking ideas from the nurses. So you have a group of them, you ask them questions, and then you table your answers down, and then you go on, you add it to your module. And then the last one is CVs and good clinical practice certificates. CVs are mandatory. So from the principal investigator, the co-investigators, you will need their CVs. And then for good clinical practices, the certificates for these good clinical practices are only applicable to clinical trials or clinical studies. And so you don't have to really worry yourself that much if you are not into clinical studies or clinical trials. Now, the submission process is such that they don't do in-person submission. And then once you are done with your protocol, you write to them telling them you want to send your applications for review, and then they go through the technical review to see whether everything is on point. After this, you receive a feedback, you revise accordingly, and then you resubmit. And then this resubmission is what is going to be sent to the ethics board for review, and then comments will be sent to you afterwards. Ethics is not free. You well know that they need peer reviews. They need people who are well versed in the area of study. Okay, so they need these people to get into your research, make sure it is ethically sound, socially sound, scientifically proven. And so we need experts in these fields for reviews. And so it is not free. You can reach out to them via email. They can send you the payment schedule depending on the scope of your research. And then your study or your protocol will not be reviewed until you have made full payment, and then you send them proof of your payment. Ethics usually for Ghana Health Service takes not more than 3 months. It's cold depending on the revisions that are required. So it could go as long as 3 months, but minimum 3 months you should have your protocol with comments. And then all the letters you are going to send, they are supposed to be addressed to the chairperson as detailed here in this window. So now let's go to KNUST's CHRP. They do in-person submissions. They also do online submission. So with online submission, I will take you through, but before that, let me just go through this before I click on the link for you to see. So it's basically has similar documents required of you as the Ghana Health Service. So for this, you need a personalized cover letter from the investigator. The investigator here could be you, the student, could be your supervisor. It could be an independent researcher. So that's that. You need a cover letter telling them the title of your study, what your study seeks to achieve, and all that. And then you need copies of your research protocol, as said in the Ghana Health Service documents. You also need participant information sheets and consent forms, just like the Ghana Health Service one. So they are similar, but they are different. So each and every one of them has pretty much their own information sheets and consent forms, but there are some similarities. Okay, yeah. So basically, that's that. You also need your data capturing tools, as I mentioned earlier, proof of permission from study sites, and then proof of payment. And so when I get to the website, I'll show you the payment schedule. It keeps changing. So you don't have to focus on what I'm going to show you. Okay. It could change the next year. It could change the next 6 months. So just make sure you are updated. And now, where applicable, where are some of the documents? What are some of the documents you need? So you need the CV of the PI, especially for clinical or field trials. Now, CVs are important. If not for anything at all, the PI needs the CV to be featured here. If the student is the PI, you will need your CV. And the CV, they are looking at how well versed you are with research. How long have you been in the research field? Who actually are you to conduct? Do you qualify? That's the word. Do you qualify to be a researcher? So that's what they are really looking out for. And then you need written or approval from supervisors if this is a student's research work. You need other supporting documents, diary cards this is applicable to other fields of study. Yes, so now the timelines are basically the same for the Ghana Health Service, 3 months or less. And so when you are drafting your timelines, you have to make sure you've apportioned enough months for the ethics section, so that you don't get you are not on the wrong side of time. Okay, so now that we are done, let me get to the link so that you can follow through. This is the link. This is the link. You enter. And then you input if you don't have an account, you create your account. If you have, you just have to log in. So once you get in, so this is my applications with the KNUST Ethics Board. I have 6 applications. So this is basically that. If you want to start a new application, you click, and then these are the documents that are required of you. Okay, so I've stated all of these in the submission already. So if you want the payment schedule, this is it. So you get the payment schedule as so. You scan through whichever one that applies to you. You know the amount you are supposed to pay for the first or initial payment, that is full committee. And then if you are going for amendment too, this is the amount you'll be paying. You have to just look at the one that corresponds to your title. And if you want an expedited review, so normal review takes, as I mentioned, 3 months or less. But if you want an expedited review, you could pay 100% of the initial payment, and then you have your research expedited. Now, this is not, how do I even say this? This is not to say that in anytime you say you want expedited, that's it. No, you need a cover letter as well for the reasons for expedition. And so you have to make sure you are justifying why you need an expedited process to be meted out to you. And so this is the payment plan for each and every one. So for students, postgrads, for non-Ghanaian students, non-Ghanaian investigators, lecturers, postgrads, undergrads, as low as 50 cedis. And if you are going for amendments, it's free. Expedition or expedited process is not does not apply to postgraduate students, to non-Ghanaian undergrad students. And so you just have to make sure you know all of these, and then the banking details as well. And so you need to get yourself abreast with this. And as I mentioned, these could change at any point in time. So you make sure at any point you are verifying, you are confirming whether this is okay. All right, we have this. We have the participant sheets and consent forms here. You click on them, you download, and then you continue. You start your applications. And then you just populate all the information they need. Usually, all of this information would, if you did a good research protocol, or if you are providing a very good protocol, you would have most of the information in your protocol already, and then you just have to copy paste them. Now, with this out of the way, let's move to ethics for animals. So animal-based research, also at KNUST. So for this, they are called the Animal Research Ethics Committee, and they exist to minimize the number of animals used, reduce, avoid, or ameliorate pain, reduce pain to the lowest degree, suffering, and the death of the animal. They are also to ensure ethical use of animals in teaching and research at KNUST. So for this, it has a different way of going about it. So all documents must be combined. All documents must be combined into one PDF. You submit 2 hard copies to the RX office room 109 at the administrative block, and then 1 soft copy to their email. Now the application fee as of making this video is 100 cedis, but as I said earlier, payments or amounts can change as and when. Okay, so you take your time, make sure you are confirming the price before you go on. So the document order is very important, and it has a similar format as the previous ones we've covered. So you need a cover page, a name, topic, index number, that is for students, and then a letter from your HOD, letter from your supervisor. If you are the applicant yourself, you need a letter, a cover letter from yourself, and then an application letter for EDCA clearance. Now, the application for animals, they come in different forms. We have the form A1, which is the initial protocol submission. So with this, as I've listed above, you need a cover letter from your HOD, you need the PI's application letter, collaborative institution letter. That is if, so for instance, you are working in collaboration with another facility, you will need a collaborative letter from them. Okay, so you just, and that will be different from the permission letter. So they will give you a collaborative letter because they are collaborators, and then they'll give you permission. If their site is your study site, then you need permission letter as well from them. If you have any prior ethical approval, you let them know. You complete your form A2. I'll tell you what it entails. You complete your form A3, which is PI compliance statement. Full protocol, that's form A4. And then evidence of animal research training, your bank slip evidence, that's after your payment. And then if your study is a clinical trial, you just have to go in for a prior service scientific review approval. So the forms, mandatory forms to submit are the forms A2, A3, A3B, A4, and Form B, that is the protocol amendment. So this particular protocol amendment, Form B, you only need it when you are going for amendments. So all in all, this is a general overview of the workflow for your ethics. You need to develop your protocol, be as detailed as possible. If you need scientific terms, reduce them as much as possible. Make it as simple as possible. Don't make it complicated. Don't make it ambiguous. identify the ethics pathway, whether you are going for animal research, whether you are going for human research, and determine which ethics you want to go in for. If you are going to have a wider reach with your study, it's advisable to just go in for Ghana Health Service, and then you are good to go. If you think it's a sponsored project and you can go in for both, you are also good to go. You can go with that. Now, after that, you prepare your other documents, you submit for review, make corrections, pay the fees. Your ethics will begin, approval will be granted before your collection starts. For ethics renewal, amendments, and continuing of your approval, ethics is usually not forever. Okay, it's within some valid fixed point or fixed period. Okay, usually within a year. And before the year ends, if you are not done with your study, you have to write for renewal. So renewal is purposely for you are not done with your study, and so you are writing for renewal. And then there is amendment. All of these have their own documents you need to pull out and then fill or complete. Amendments can be you need to change the study site, you need to add a study site, you are changing a co-investigator, you are amending your protocol, you are changing the sample size. Anything that affects the entirety of your study, you need to write an amendment for. You make sure the renewal is submitted before your study expires. As I mentioned, failure to renew may require suspension of your data collection, resubmission as a new study entirely. And if this is a student's work, you have a limited time to complete your work. If this is a funded project, you also have a timeline for which you are supposed to complete your study. So if you are suspended, you will lose funder confidence. You might delay in completing your undergrad, your postgrad, or your postdoc. Okay, so you make sure you don't fall on the wrong side of the law. You always fall on the right side of the law. So, as I mentioned, if you are amending your protocol, if you change your study objective or you are adding another objective, if you are changing your sample size, your study population, your study tools, if you are amending them, if you are changing your study sites or your data collection methods, you have to make sure you are writing for amendment. And then that will be done. So for the animal studies, you use Form B for your amendments. For the other ethics, human ethics applications, you write to them and then they will send you the amendment documents. Usually, you also need the status report of your study. Okay, whether you've already collected your sample, the number of samples you've collected, do you have any adverse reactions or adverse reports you want to report on? If you have data, what is your data saying? All of these things will be asked or required of you. And so when you go in for the documents, you take your time, you go through, you just look at it. They'll also be asking you for the start of your study, when you are ending, how many months you have more. So all of these questions will be there. They are just basic ones that you can look out for. So it is important to remember that you will never implement any change, any extensions or new tools without everything ethical approval. Ethics is not paperwork. Let for that alone, everyone can apply for ethics. You have to make sure it is responsible science you are looking at. And so thank you very much for your time. Our next video will be on introduction of your study, what it entails, what is required of you. And then once that is done, we will look at how to cite, the citation tools you will need, and all of these things. You can equally reach out to us via my email, for any clarification, for any inputs. We could help you with your work, we could help you with your research. And you could also follow me on LinkedIn could also follow me on LinkedIn. Thank you very much and have a wonderful time.